Hi guys, I'm Chris from Nutribox Health, and today I am going to be showing you how to make a vegetable korma. So let's get started. What we'll need for this is some cauliflower, carrots, sweet potato, courgette, onion, peas, yogurt, vegetable stock and some curry spices. For this one we're aiming on around 2 portions for the one I'm doing, and I'll be using 1 onion, 3 cardamom pods, 2 tablespoons of cumin and coriander, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of mild curry powder, 3 grams of ginger, 3 grams of garlic, 1 tablespoon of ground almonds, 350 millilitres of vegetable stock, 200 grams of peas, 200 millilitres of yogurt and 1 tablespoon of sugar. So let's get started with the veg. Courgettes, top and tail. Get rid of any waste and then slice it straight down the middle. Same again, using the claw technique. And then what we can do is tuck our fingers in and chop it up into nice medium-sized diced pieces and push them to one side. Cauliflower I've already taken off the floret, so you could break these down into smaller pieces if you want, or you can leave them like that. Onion, take off the root and then just slice him in half and peel it. Get rid of some of that skin. And with the onion you can either slice it or you can dice it, whatever you feel more confident in doing. I'll do one of each just to show you different techniques. Sliced onion, again tuck the fingers in and just nice easy slices. Diced onion, you can do it a couple of ways. You can use the claw and you can go across it like that and then back across the other way. Or you can use the method where you make an incision 3/4 of the way through the onion, and then the onion's naturally in layers, so if you cut back across this now the other way you'll get nice little dices of onion. That's the onion done. Sweet potato, I'm going to peel it with a knife. You can use a veg peeler. You want to keep it nice and steady on the chopping board. If you've got a bit of a wonky potato, it could be worth cutting it in half just to give you something stable for it to stay on so it's not rocking around. And just trim up the bits. Now potatoes, sweet potatoes, unlike the other potatoes, cook a lot quicker. So they don't need blanching or anything before we put them into the curry. And then again with them, slice nearly. And again into some nice dices of potato. Peel your carrots, and your carrots we're going to cut similar to the sweet potato. You could slice them if you wanted. rid of all the waste bits. Again, top and tail. And you could do just sliced carrot like that, or you could cut the carrot in half. Again, for the kiddies, use the claw technique, and then that gives it something stable to stay on the chopping board with. It's not going to move about. You don't have to do them two together, you can do one at a time. Just whichever you find easiest. Okie doke, so that's all the veg prepared for the korma. I've already got my water, which is quite warm, and I've put my vegetable stock cube in that, so it's just diluting nicely. I've got my rice in the pan ready, basmati rice, 50 grams. A good way of cooking rice is to use the thumbnail technique. So when you fill it up with water, just use your thumbnail as a guide, and you want a thumbnail's worth above the rice. So then we'll take the chopping board over to the stove, so we're all staying together, and we haven't got to do too much moving about when it comes to cooking the curry. I'll try and set this tripod up so you can see in the pan. See if we can give it a bit more height. How's that? Okie dokie, so we'll turn the rice on. Turn it down quite low, and then turn your pan on what you're doing the curry in. Use a frying pan, wok, saucepan, whatever you've got. A little splash of oil. Probably about a tablespoon's worth of oil. And then we want the oil to get nice and hot before we start cooking the vegetables. Korma's a really mild curry. Most people's sort of beginner curry, what they start off with before they work their way up to the spicier ones. So going in there first will be the carrot, sweet potato and the onion. And what we're doing is we're just starting to soften them up. So move them around the pan, get the oil coated onto it all. If you get any flick out, just chuck them back in. And they should start sizzling away nicely. What you can also use as well, if you've got one, is a lid just to keep that steam inside it, so it cooks it a bit quicker if you're in a rush. Obviously, during the course of the video, I'm doing it quite quickly. If you're cooking along at home, you can pause the video, rewind, catch up if you need to, or you might be miles in front of me anyway because you know what you're doing. I think one of the hardest things about doing these online video cookings is Obviously stuff takes time to cook, so it's finding words to say to fill in the blanks. I'd like to be able to tell you about the history of the korma, but I'm sure I'd be wrong. It's probably a dish that doesn't actually exist in India, and it's been adapted to suit the Western taste. So I'll just give the water and the rice a little flick around there just to stop it from boiling dry. When the rice is done, all we'll do is we'll just turn it off and then leave it to rest for a little bit once the water's all disappeared out of it. So next, going into this pan now will be the cauliflower. Again, just knock it about a little bit. Cauliflower in. Get some warmth into the cauliflower now, so lid back on. And one of the keys as well is not to put the spice in too early. I always find that if you have a curry and you put the spice in too early, or the pan's too hot and you burn the spice, I'm not sure of a way of getting rid of that burnt taste of spice. I think it comes down to a start again. So keep it all moving around. If there's any excess oil left in there, then again that's where the spice will come in useful. That will soak up some of that oil. So off with the lid, and you're going to sprinkle all the spice in. So as well as the curry spices in there, I've got my ginger puree and garlic puree. And what I would be tempted to do now is just knock the heat down on the pan a little bit, just to prevent it from catching. So we're keeping it moving round. Again, this is helping it not to burn. If it is that your pan's too hot, you can take it off the heat, or you could add a little bit of your water, what you've got your veg stock in, just to stop it from catching. So now we've mixed that spice around and it's had a taste of the heat. It'll start to cook out the dry curry spice taste, so we can begin to add some water. Half the water at that stage, and then we can add the courgette. Move it round, get it involved, get all the liquid over the top of it. And then to that now we're going to add the remainder of the water and put the lid back on and get some heat in there. We're not using any salt and pepper in this. We're getting our salt and pepper taste from the vegetable stock cube what we've used. And we're not using any thickening agent in it. So the starch from the potato will be what we want to thicken the curry sauce up with. If it was that you'd put too much water into it, you could dilute a little bit of corn flour just to put in there, just to help thicken it up a little bit. So let's get the lid on. Let's let some real heat get in that pan now. And we just have a look at the rice. So you can see with the rice, all the water's nearly gone, but not quite. So back on, turn the heat right down on it, and just leave the rice there, keeping an eye on it, making sure that it doesn't start to catch. If it does, turn it off. If you haven't put enough water in or it's soaked it up a bit quick, just add a little bit more water to it if the rice isn't quite cooked. The next ingredient what we're going to put in this is some ground almonds. Obviously if you have a nut allergy, avoid putting the almonds into it. And then we finish it off with the peas once we've got that liquid to the consistency we want. So I'll just grab some almonds. And I'm using 2 tablespoons worth of almonds. One. Two. Stir them in. And again, lid back on for another couple of minutes, just to get them pieces of cauliflower, sweet potato and carrot softening up. At this stage with the rice, I'm going to turn the rice off now, so you can see that all the water's gone out of the rice. It hasn't burnt. If I use the back end of the spoon, you can see that it hasn't caught on the bottom of the pan. So what you can do there now is you could either cling film it. I've just got a lid knocking about, so I'll just put that over the top. You're just keeping the heat inside it and just finishing that cooking process off. You want the rice to have a little bit of a bite with it, obviously not a raw crunch, but just something that has a little bit of an edge. And then what we're going to do is put the peas in. And at this stage now, we're going to leave the lid off. So we're turning the heat right up, leave the lid off, and we want to evaporate a little bit of this excess liquid. You see it's quite a orange colour at the minute, and then when we add the yoghurt to it, that'll really lighten it up into that korma-y colour that we're looking for. You could always do a little tester as well. You could take a piece of your sweet potato out or your carrot just to see if it's softening up. Yes, it is. So it's not a million miles away. You just want to take a little bit more of that moisture out. We can check the seasoning of it now. Have a little taste of the sauce, just see what we're looking at. You could add a little bit more seasoning to it if you wanted to. I think that tastes fine at the minute for a korma. And then at the last stage, we're now going to add 200 millilitres, 2 tablespoons even, of yoghurt. I imagine 200 tablespoons might make it a bit too creamy. And just stir that into it. So depending how thick you want it, just keep reducing it a little bit more if you want it any thicker. I'm quite happy with that, how that looks at the minute. So I'm not far off being ready to plate it up. So I'll move the tripod around again and let's get over to the plate. So there's a plate. First thing on there, I'm going to put the rice. So I can sit the rice in the middle. And then what I can do with that is I can push it out a little bit to create myself a little well to keep the curry in. So just knock it out. And that'll just stop the curry leaking all over the plate if you don't want it all over it. Turn the curry off now. And ready to dish up. Let's have a nice piece of cauliflower in there. Some courgette, carrot, onion, some of that sauce. And it might look like there's quite a bit here, but again, vegetables are very low in calories, so you can tend to eat more of them. And what you could do if you wanted to, you could finish that off with a little sprinkle of the ground almonds on top of it if you've got any left. You could put a little spoon of yoghurt over it. So you can see the amount. I would say that was a fair portion on there. And then what's left in the pan, potentially another portion. You'd have to perhaps just up the amounts on the rice. Okie doke guys, let us know how you get on with that.